Hi everyone. Fiona's got a
Oh,
thing.
fine. Are we recording nicely? Yeah.
We're recording nicely, I think. And you've got your thing, which I totally agree with.
I've got my thing. Today's gripe. Yes. How disempowering it is to have to work for anybody else just to make ends meet.
And the
Because
fact
you
that
don't.
most of us have to do it.
Absolutely, we have to do it because that's the way the world's set up.
Mm.
But is there anything more disempowering than wondering how the hell you're going to meet your bills at the end of the week? And having to do things that you don't necessarily want to do at a time when you don't necessarily want to do them, just because that's the only way to pay this week's electricity bill.
And how many of us have not been in that position? Hands down.
Absolutely, hands down. I think everybody's been there.
Yep. And at the moment, with the current generalized fuck up of governments all around the world,
an awful lot of us are going there again.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Yes. So we've actually been talking about it and we're actually getting somewhere. So go for it, Fiona.
Right. How do we get rid of that feeling of being disempowered? We need to be empowered. We need to empower ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's the only way to get past it. And what's been dropped on my head fairly heavily this week by the other world is quite a simple sounding bit of advice. They said, stop thinking about how to earn money and just set things up so the money falls in your lap anyway. And they got the usual complaints from me. This all sounds very good. How do I do it, etc., etc.
Generalized whinging, because
yes.
I've had the same thing.
Yes.
And
you can see them rolling their eyes and reaching for a fresh pint and thinking, oh God, here we go again.
And she's got one on. We'll leave her to it till she gets it off. But what they ended up with me was also to set things up to make a living.
Yes. And think about what a living is.
Yes. What do you need to live?
Yes. What actually do you need in your life? What is going to make your life a life that you wish to live?
And also you have to get down to real sort of nuts and bolts stuff. Is like, what do I actually need to live? And we've both been around this.
Oh yeah, many times.
A couple of times. We're just on the start of another round for both of us.
Yes.
It never stops. Don't worry about it. But what do you actually need? You actually need shelter.
You need a roof over your head.
Yeah, you do actually need a roof over your head, because when you get sopping wet, you just end up dying of hypothermia.
Yeah.
You need food, otherwise you end up dying of starvation.
Yes.
And you need warmth, otherwise you also end up dying of hypothermia.
Yes.
And you also, when you're hungry and when you're cold and when you're wet, you can't actually think straight.
Yes.
And it's
very, very easy to exploit in that state.
Yeah. And I mean, as we've both done tons of bushcraft, and that is one of the first things you get. I mean, I got it from my parents and so did Fiona, but we also got it from our bushcraft instructors. It's like, you've got to think of those things, because if you don't,
you will die.
You will die if you go out for 2 or 3 nights out on the moor, which we both.
Yes. So the first thing you do is you choose your campsite, you build your shelter, and you start collecting in food and firewood.
Yeah. Or if you've been even brighter, as we used to do when we took the students out on Exmoor, is as before we start off, it's like, now, if you see dry wood, not wood that's lying on the ground and getting wet, but dry wood that's stuck in the hedge or hanging in a tree, pick it up and carry it, because we'll need it for lunch.
Yes.
They'll stare at you and think you're going to eat logs, but it's fine. They get the hang of it fairly quickly.
And then at lunchtime, you pull out a small wood stove, assemble it quickly, and brew up a pot of tea. And everyone thinks, wow. But it's really not that difficult if you just set it up so that it works in the first place.
Yeah.
So how do we apply that to our daily lives?
Yeah, everyday life, when we're both living in houses at the moment.
Yes.
Which have roofs which don't leak so far.
Yes. So that's object number 1 ticked off. But how do you keep it? Yes. Because council tax, electricity bills, gas bills if you have gas, all those incidental little costs that you've got to meet in order to keep the roof over your head.
And rent in my case, because my
Yes.
landlord won't let me live here unless I give him some money in exchange.
Yes.
And for those of you, and there are probably loads of you, mortgage, because
Absolutely.
mortgage people will throw you out if you don't pay
Yes.
them.
So those are things that you actually need under the heading of shelter.
Yep.
So if you're trying to work out your finances, put those down first. You need to keep your house.
Yep.
You need to keep that roof over your head. So put down those expenses as I've got to make these ends meet.
Yeah.
What's the next one on the list?
Either food or warmth.
Yes.
Probably warmth is a good idea, but on the other, it's very debatable because you do need both. And if you eat, you actually set off heat energy inside yourself. So you will get warmer from just eating.
You'll need to eat more if you don't have the warmth. On the other hand, just having a roof and walls immediately
will make it that much warmer than without them.
Yes.
So you need food.
You need
and
food.
You need heating. And at the moment, I mean, one of the phrases going around, and I'm sure you all heard it, is so many people are at the eat or heat.
Yes.
The price of oil going through the roof, and the price of food is probably following, but we won't
go
there.
Yes, it is definitely going up.
And so, you know, it's this eat heat thing, which is a balance. But you need them, and you do need both. And it's how to do it and how to organize your life, not, you know, the life that you get from this fantastic modern place. I can't remember, what's the place at Ryder? Anyway, you know, where they sort of tell you to build a house out of straw bales and all this kind of thing. Please
yes.
do that if you want to.
Centre for Alternative Living.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't have to go there, and you don't have to go into this completely off-grid stuff unless you want to. And
it's nice if you can.
Want to.
Nice if you can, but most of us can't.
No, indeed. So we're not looking at that. We're looking at what have you got that people actually want.
This is actually reminding me of that old joke, that the old Irish joke about the tourist who pulls up to a farmer in Ireland and says, "I'm trying to get to Dublin," and he goes, "Oh, well, I wouldn't start from here." And the point is, you have to start from where you are now.
Yes.
Not where you'd like to be, not where you were, but where are you right now?
Yeah.
So the house you're in right now, and the job you're stuck with right now.
Yeah.
So how do we plug these things into the life, your place, where you are right now? And that's what we're here to do today.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yes. Hopefully help set your little grey cells thinking as we keep cudgelling ours.
Yeah.
And perhaps help you see outside the box a little bit.
And that is the point, because there are some words that, I must have a job or I won't be able to do so-and-so. So it's like you almost have to lose that phrase and turn it the other way around. Sort of, I need to pay these bills. So I need to find a way of being able to pay these bills. Now, when you start really getting into your own power, these things tend to fall towards you.
Yes.
They often require, and it's just been happening to me, and it's actually happening to Fiona too, they actually require a whole new look at how you see you.
Yes.
And I've just been told this past since Tuesday morning when I got I've had the sort of mutter for months from Otherworld. And on Tuesday morning, I got the ba-dum and the cannonball hitting me kind of thing. And I just had to take my whole view of me and go, past its sell-by date, compost bin. And so I'm in process of doing that. So some of you will probably be aware of this because I'm actually changing the website. And I hate the word, but I'm going to use it anyway. one of the modern terms, and it's very much of a sort of sooty city term, is a rebranding. And I really hate it, but it does have a point, actually, because it means you're looking at you in a completely different way. Now, rebranding on a city type thing usually means you're selling the same shit with a different color cover.
Yes. Change the label, change the letterhead, carry on doing the same stuff.
Absolutely. This actually means I'm actually having to change not everything, but quite all. I'm changing the way I do things.
It's a refocusing.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is happening for you too, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to it's quite hard work, and it's not, I mean, we've got each other, and we've got another couple of women that we know who are doing the same sort of things. So we're not actually alone. And we do actually even get to see each other face to face, not through a screen all the time. And but a lot of people don't have that. And part of what we're both offering at the moment is, in the process of making a place where you can find tools that will help you look at yourself and go, I don't actually need that anymore. I actually do need that. And you know, funnily enough, one of the ways of doing that is actually to make a drum.
Yes, it is, curiously enough.
I know it doesn't sound like it at all. It sounds like what?
All of this is yet another stage of butterfly soup.
Yes.
As we go through life, each of us, we grow so far like a big fat caterpillar, and we have to change.
Yeah.
We have to stop doing that. We've got as big as we can as a caterpillar. It's time to become a butterfly. Unlike ordinary butterflies, real butterflies, who do it once and then do butterfly things and then die and carry on with the cycle that way. As humans, we need to keep growing different stages of caterpillarness and then hatching out into a new sort of caterpillar and growing again.
Actually, we do hatch out. Actually,
we do hatch out into
I agree with that. I'm going to disagree with that a bit. We actually do become butterflies.
Yes.
And now remember this phrase we were saying this morning when we were having our coffee chat. We actually have to kill our darlings.
That's true. Yes, it is a form of self-sacrifice.
This is a writer's phrase, and we're both right. And you find this fantastic little scene or this fantastic phrase that you've got, and you're so in love with it, and you think it's so perfect. And Fiona comes along and says, "That's shit." You know.
Editors are absolute hell like this. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I do the same thing back.
Yes.
So it's
what's the point of this character?
Yeah, you know,
yes.
Why is he doing that, for God's sake? You know, and who cares how many fairies are dancing in the bottom of his garden? The point is that this ogre is about to bash him on the head with a stick.
Yes.
So you get this thing, and of course we all get it with ourselves, because either you are some poor soul who is in real depression, and if so, I'm really sympathetic, because I have actually been there too, and you need proper help, proper medical help, to get to a stage where you can actually start seeing out beyond here. If you're at the stage where you're starting to see out beyond here, then this is where you have to let go of the you used to know. And that's the butterfly that you were.
Yes.
And that butterfly has to die.
But a new and better butterfly needs to hatch.
Because she's already laid the eggs of caterpillars on if she's an orange tip on a nettle or something. And so that caterpillar then has to grow again. And we're at the stage where we've become caterpillars, and I think we're both at the stage where we ought to start making chrysalises.
Yes.
I certainly feel I am.
Yes.
And so we make a chrysalis, and well, we're probably in it in a way. What happens to the butterfly is that they go back to like all the molecules that made them, but it really does become like soup.
Mm.
And it's butterfly soup because it's the soup that's going to become a butterfly. And then they put themselves all back together and they're in a completely different state.
Yes.
And they bust their way out of the chrysalis and sit there going, literally on.
It's not a comfortable process.
On a nice sunny
Yes.
branch while their wings dry. And then I've actually watched this, so have you, haven't you? And it's totally stunning. You just sit there with your mouth hanging open. And they gradually, the wings dry. And this beautiful creature comes to life and then flies off.
Yes. We used to keep silk moths when I was a child.
Oh, right.
And they are amazing because, of course, because you're keeping them, they have to be kept artificially in this country because they come from places where the food they grow, the food they need just doesn't grow here. So you have to keep them artificially. You have to keep them warm. You have to look after them like pets.
Yeah.
But they're huge. And a silk moth is as big as your hand.
Yeah.
So when the chrysalis itself is, you know, it's a huge, great thing. It looks like a cigar. And when it begins to hatch, you can put your hand there and this wizened brown shrinkly thing crawls out and then blossoms on your hand over about 15-20 minutes into this huge purple and brown gorgeous creature with all sorts of colors and enormous antennae. Absolutely magical, truly magical.
And it's worth actually, and as semi aside, I know there's one in Somerset where you can actually go and see this and you can actually have them on your hand. And it is stunning. And I
there's
think
one in Stratford-upon-Avon as well.
Sorry?
There's a butterfly world in Stratford-upon-Avon as well, where you can go in with all the butterflies.
Well, I expect there probably are other ones. And honestly, it is really worth it. It just opens up your heart.
Yes.
And totally opens up your mind. I mean, it blows your mind. And this is what we have to do. And this is what empowerment does. But what we both do is give you ways, you know, like the caterpillars, they're eating and eating and eating, and they're eating the right sort of food for that sort of caterpillar. So what we've got are tools where you can find the right sort of food for you.
Yes.
And eat it and expand yourself and get better and better. And then we've got places where we can be with you, at least be within touch of you, because you want to do this by yourself as well while you're doing the butterfly soup chrysalis stuff. And then we're absolutely thrilled because we've been working with you forever and ever. And you bugger off as a butterfly.
And you live a fantastic life. We watch you do it.
We're really pleased for you.
Yes.
And we do actually let you go. I mean, we're actually friends with quite a lot of people we've done it with. So
yes.
Yes. So it doesn't actually go. But you've got to really rethink being you. You know, I just, one came into my mind, you sort of, you know, there you are at this sort of stupid coffee morning or cocktail party or something that we don't go to. And you know, oh, hello, Fred. And Fred says, I'm a bank clerk. What do you do? And Fred just there identified himself as a thing.
Yes.
As an automaton, as a bank clerk.
As a job.
As a job. It's getting better. And possibly from the circles that I live in, I meet people who say, hello, I'm Liz, which is a good start.
Because, of course, being a bank clerk is not what you are.
No.
It's what you do.
Yeah. And do people actually, I mean, personally, I like knowing how people feel. I like knowing what turns them on and what turns them off. And
what sort of person are you?
You know, and what makes their hearts sing. I love knowing things like that. I really don't care whether they sweep roads, a bank clerk, a doctor, or a surgeon, or an astronaut, or whatever. I don't care. I might actually care if they're an astronaut because they've seen things I haven't seen.
I suspect some road sweepers.
It did help, yeah, absolutely. So, the job side of it is like secondary when you
Yes.
can't think of anything else to talk about. And
It's
we
like the
all,
weather.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are we talking about interesting things, or are we sort of stuck for conversation topics? And but it's not who you are. But part of empowerment is to actually be able to let go of that thing of I'm a bank clerk, I keep a shop, I'm a baker, all of these things. It's just like, okay, I've done that. Do I still need to do that?
Mm.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But until you actually ask that question in the first place, you don't know.
Yes.
And that's what
we do fully understand that it's not comfortable having to crawl out of your chrysalis. It's very comfortable. It's very comfortable being me. You get used to it. You have a comfort zone. You sit happily in the middle of it, and you don't want to go outside because it's uncomfortable. But you don't grow unless you go into the what you might call the discomfort zone that surrounds your little comfort zone. You need to get out of the chrysalis.
Yeah.
You need to grow.
Yeah. And you also actually need to put yourself into the chrysalis, because it's very nice being a caterpillar.
Yes.
Along with your leaf. And then all of a sudden, I've got to go, oh no,
Yes.
Oh, I've got to do this. Then eventually you have to do it, and you start spinning silk. And this is what both of us do in different ways, is help you to get to that place so that you can start looking at your life. We don't provide solutions, and we don't say, oh, you need to go and
no, that's disempowering.
Yeah, because then you're living our script.
You need to live your own script.
Yeah.
It is your life. You need to grasp it by the throat and live it.
And cuddle it and kiss it, actually.
Yeah, actually,
whatever. Yeah. Fiona's quite a wild woman, it's fine. And
there's the woman wearing rewild on her sweatshirt. Yes.
Indeed. But this is what we do. And people call it life coaching, and we're quite happy with that label.
Yes.
The life coaching that we do is based in the old ways of thinking that every country in the world has. And when you get back to the old stuff that they call shamanism, for want of a better word, it's all about, who am I? Should I still be doing this? Shall I take off from, what was the name of the guy who went from the Alps and got buried in Stonehenge? Anyway, him.
The archer, yes.
Yeah, the archer.
Yes.
Shall I just take off from my nice happy place in the Alps and walk all across Switzerland and France and get across to Britain and go and talk to these guys who are building Stonehenge? I mean, wow.
Yes. Yes.
He only got his feet, mate.
Yeah.
And but that was normal, lots of people did it. But it's a complete change again. So we've done this, and part of, I think it makes all animals are curious.
Yes.
And we are curious as animals too. Curiosity is not just a human thing. You watch any animal. And
you have to be curious to survive.
I'm watching all the wild birds around me at the moment, and watching how they're going, what's that? Oh,
can I eat it? Can I sit on it? Is it any good for anything?
Yeah.
I
quite fancy her.
Yes.
That's wearing off now. Most of them have mated. But there's all of this. They're curious about the place. Is that a good place to perch? Is that a good place to sleep? Is that a good place to nest? And that's only what I'm thinking that the bird might be thinking. and since they don't usually, get out of my head, I'm too busy for you.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not really interested in having me in their head finding out what they're doing most of the time.
Particularly not at this time of year when they're far too busy living.
Yeah, go away, I'm too busy. I've got to feed her, I've got to do this, I've got to do,
Yes.
catch this worm, whatever. So I'm just guessing at what they do, and every now and again, and we're quite lucky here. We've got 3 pairs of robins, but there's one that is up by the pond, which you know that one. And in the evening, I usually go out about 5 or 6 o'clock and have a sit. And he's there, and he's talking, and he's singing, and he will talk to me then. That seems to be his off time, and so I get a bit of a chat. I was there with my friend Kim yesterday, and he talks to her too. And so we were both getting a bit of robin chat and a little bit, but we're not that interesting to them. So, they do get to a bit of, your time's up, go away, next job, got
Yes.
things to do. But we can learn, but they're all doing curiosity all the time.
Yes.
And we need to really get into our curiosity, because that helps you move on.
It's also something that a lot of our current way of living drills out of you. Starting actually, preschool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's no curiosity involved in 2 2s or 4, 3 4s or 6, whatever. I got the maths wrong there, but the point is that
I like it. You stay that way.
It actually stifles curiosity, because you're only supposed to find the right answer, and it's given to you. Here is the answer to that question. No other question matters. Whereas there are lots of questions that matter enormously, and if we encourage curiosity in children, they grow on to become discoverers, inventors, explorers, the people we need if we are all to grow.
Yeah. And it also helps us because it keeps your mind alive, and you don't
Yes.
go chug, 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 chug.
It's very easy to get mind numbed. If you're doing a boring job just to make ends meet. Factory workers, transport drivers.
Yeah, like you.
At the moment, unfortunately only part-time.
Yeah.
But it's something that we need to be on guard for.
Yeah.
Don't let your mind get dulled to sleep, because that's what makes people vote for people like the Tories.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Or Donald Trump, if you're
or Donald Trump, or any of these,
or any of them actually.
Any of these exploitative bastards who are just trying to keep you down so they can stay on top.
And
when you get back to the old ways, it's about cooperation. It's not about exploitation. You work with.
And it's not about somebody leading you and telling you what to do and giving you a set of rules and a box to live in. It's about you all continually moving and working together.
If you flounder long enough, you get hints. If you do flounder around long enough and ask for help, you do get hints. But
yeah, that's another thing, and that's another thing that
they never come out and say to you flatly, "Do that."
No,
not unless it's a case of do that or die.
Both of us have got oh! sort of thing at the right moment. But yeah, and we, that's something that we do. And again, we're very bad at giving answers.
Yes.
And ask me a question, Fiona.
As soon as you say that, my mind goes completely blank.
I know.
Why is the sky blue?
Well, what do you think about that? Is it blue?
Is it blue? Is it always blue?
Yeah.
Is it even sometimes blue? Looking at the sky it is at the moment, which is shades of grey and silver.
And what happens when it isn't blue?
Yes.
And so that's the sort of way we will work with you. Usually we wear a hard hat when we're working with students, because occasionally it gets too much and they want to hit us on the head with a brick. So we do sort of pull back and not do it absolutely all the time. And we will give you some sort of an answer that will slow you down.
But we try and give leading answers that will help you carry on by yourself.
And not give you a recipe or a silver bullet or a...
No, because we couldn't if we tried.
No.
We could only give you something that works for us, not necessarily something that's going to work for you. which is your life.
Even better than that, Fiona. Something that has worked for us in the
Yes,
past.
yes, that's true.
Might not even work for us now.
It may not work in the future,
Yeah.
or it may work in the future. One never knows till one gets there and stubs one's toes on it.
But what we do is we try and help you regain your own power. Find it again, be it again, and really be the authentic you.
Yes.
And experience, and my experience goes back 30 odd years, and yours goes back 20 odd at least, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is that when people find themselves, find their own power, their life really changes.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, the job, their relationships, what they do, their kids, the animals they live with, everything, it all moves. And
in a good way.
Yeah, they find that they are happy and actually joyful most of the time, even with Ukraine, even with petrol prices going through the roof, even with everything else that we don't like.
Yes.
They find that there is joy and they know how to touch it and how to draw in that energy and how to give back to themselves. Yes.
Literally. This was me this morning. I went out and the horses are molting and they wanted scratches. So
that was joy. Yeah.
That's my joy.
I was doing it with the cat earlier,
yes.
Who wanted her back scratched, you know.
Yes.
Back scrub.
Find that thing that makes your heart sing.
Very early this morning. I mean, I woke up at about 4:15. And the birds had just started. And I just lay there going, oh, because that was just filling me with this lovely song. You know, it's just a blackbird beginning and trying out a few notes and doing a couple of scales and then something else to join in.
Yes.
And and you know, whatever, even if I can't afford the petrol for the car today, I've got that.
And it's free.
Yeah.
And curiously enough, the best things in life don't actually cost money. They are your relationships with other living things.
But on the other hand, at the moment, you probably do need things
we all do need. We do need that. Yep.
And warmth.
Yep.
And there are ways you can get those which will be a lot better probably than what most of you are doing at the moment.
Yes.
Empowerment is the way to do.
Yes.
Find your own power.
And we will gladly help you do it.
We will indeed. And on that note, we're going to go and find our own power and a cup of tea each.
Absolutely.
So bye for now. See you soon.